Hello and welcome to Service Design and Engineering Laboratory. My name is Cristian Parra and I am a postdoctoral researcher here at the University of Trento. And I will be your tour guide in this journey through the exciting landscape of designing and implementing web services. In this brief introductory video, we are going to have a quick look to the different technologies that we are going to use in the lab. And we are going to do this by briefly exploring what are the elements of the architecture of the web. And then after you finish with this video, you should follow up with the lab and environment lab sessions workflow web page in the website before the page before the lab, where you will find what tools you will need and what will be our workflow through each session of this laboratory. Finally, before we start with the first hands-on session, you should make sure of watching also the video lesson number 2, where we will offer a brief overview of the Java programming language. So let us begin. Although the term service can be used to describe any piece of software that is self-contained and that can be used by other pieces of software, our focus in this lab will be set on the kind of services that are available through a network. In particular, the kind of services that are available through the internet network. These kind of services are known as web services. To understand what they are and where our work will be focused on during the lab, we are going to have a very quick look to the overview, or an overview picture of what is the architecture of the web. So, on one end we have web and mobile application clients that allow us humans to access a myriad of resources and services that are available on servers on the internet. So, for example, when we use a browser, either in our phone or our laptops or any other device, in order to access a web page, for example, the web page of the university, what happens is that the web client, which is the browser, sends an HTTP request to the server that hosts the website of the university. The server then replies to the client with an HTML representation of the web page, which is then displayed by the browser depending on the characteristics of the device. All these different terms, HTTP, HTML, web browser, client, server, these are all the different things that we are going to see how to implement or how to manage in this lab. Our particular focus will be getting a hands-on practice specifically of the server side of this architecture, that is the web services that allow a server to respond to the request of the client. These systems are usually divided in 3 main tiers. So on the first tier is the presentation tier, which is in charge of handling how to present resources that are available on the servers and that are requested by clients, and how to present these to the clients. And this is where we find, for example, web servers like Apache, Microsoft Internet Services and Nginx, and many others. Then we have a middle tier, which is the logic tier, which is in charge of actually implementing the logic of the services we are accessing through the internet. Here we find application servers like Apache, Tomcat, Glassfish, RAG, and many others. And finally, we have a persistence tier, which is in charge of handling how to store the data itself upon which these services rely. Here we have databases like MySQL, SQLi, which are relational databases, and other non-relational databases like MongoDB. In our lab, we are going to be more focused on the middle tier, which is the logic tier. And here we are going to implement different services that can be, for example, implemented or designed and implemented following a model view controller pattern. Again, each of the elements of this pattern, they can themselves be again services that are called by other services. Behind all these tiers, there are several different technologies that we will use during the lab. For example, we will be using programming languages, particularly we will be using Java, but there are other programming languages like PHP, Ruby, Python, and even JavaScript nowadays in combination with Node.js. Then we also can find frameworks and other libraries that allow us to implement or facilitate the work of implementing these services. Here, for example, we are going to focus on Jersey for implementing RESTful web services and JAX-WS for implementing SOAP web services. And there are also databases like SQLite and Redis, which are the ones that we are going to use during this lab. And in this picture, you can see in green the technology that we are going to take a more deep look during the lab. And in red and orange, we are going to other technology that we are going to mention through the different sessions we will have. The plan we will follow for the lab is the following. We are going to start with this brief introduction and a general overview of the Java programming language. Also, we are going to see how to manage Java programs and how to manage the automatic building of this program, and also the dependencies that these programs may have. Then we are going to move on to understand how XML works and what are XML schemas, and how to parse XML and JSON, and also how to map this XML and JSON to objects or from objects in Java. After we cover these two main basic technologies, we are going to move on to implement actual services, starting by implementing RESTful the RESTful type of web services, and then finalize the lab with a couple of sessions implementing SOAP web services. So that's it for today. Before moving on with the laboratory, make sure you visit the before starting the lab webpage in the website of the course. There you will find what tools and technologies you will need to install in order to follow this laboratory. In particular, before the first hands-on session, you should make sure of installing Git, Java, and if you don't have one, a terminal or a command line application. And after you do this, you can visit the web page of the first lab session, where you will find an introductory video of the Java programming language, which is not compulsory, but it will be helpful for you to be online with the things that we are going to do on the hands-on session. So that's it for today, and thanks for watching.